Hello everyone, welcome to today's training session, and this will be last in the changes of which are called data dictionary changes involving EDT, base enums, behavior of the table and their relationships. So basically then we'll move to user interface elements involving forms and other elements. So basically in today's session we'll just try to create order and line tables basically which are normally in the table group called worksheet, and that we'll use just like sales table sales line or purchase table purchase line in order to enter the information related with the order. Order contains header that have common information, then there can be multiple lines. So based upon these, then later on the journals can be posted, transaction which are called transactions, and transaction can be retrieved in the reports in order to display financial impact, or if there is an inventory impact. So transaction can be reversed, but those cannot be deleted. So because those are having impact on ultimately journal ledger. So we'll just start with creating, because this is a resort management system. For resort management system, we will just try to create a booking table, booking header and booking lines. And booking header will contain the common information, and the line will contain specific information, and those can be multiple lines. For example, in a resort, can be multiple, location can be booked by a customer, by a client. So those can be again single header but multiple lines if there are multiple bookings. To start with, we'll just create a new table in our project which we are following up from previous session. If you have not done it, so you just need to switch to the previous session and just follow those to reach at this stage. So I will just create a new item, although the frequently used items are available there. So go to the data model and go to the tables, and then just we need to create, for example, a resort uh, booking table. So resort booking table will contain the header information. So that we just need to create here. So the table is now here available, and we just need to create an EDT. Just right click again on the project and go to the EDT, and in the EDT we just need to create it as a string, and just give it a name like PKR uh, resort booking ID. This can be EDT name. So the EDT is now created, and once it's created, just click it and go to the properties and go to the extend property, and just extend it with a num EDT basically. So now we need to just give it a appropriate label and the help text. So just I have already opened the label file. The booking ID or booking the booking number can be appropriate label here, and booking num. I can also put it like booking order number. Also same way, booking order number. help text, the number represents the booking order number. Basically, instead of number, just booking order. So just put it, copy the label from here and go to the EDT and replace, paste the label in the label property and the help text into the help text property. Now what we need to do is just select the field node and just drag this EDT to the field node and make it like remove the prefixes and make it simply like booking ID here, and also we need to set certain properties. For example, mandatory should be yes here, and allow edit will not be allowing editing, allowing edit here, and allow edit on create can be yes. And then so now we need to just complete the EDT table references. For that we need to go to resort booking ID EDT, and then in the reference table we need to select the newly created table, the name of which is resort booking table. So that we need to reference here. And once we have referenced it, and then go to table references, create a new table reference, and in that go to the related field, and basically that field is not yet available because we have not synced it. So let me, yeah, that is now actually not saved before. So I have just saved it, and now booking ID field is available, which I have put in the related field. So I have just completed the EDT, and next we'll just create an index. So that index need to be in the index node. Just right click and new index, and put it like booking IDX, and then drag this booking ID into the booking ID index, and allow duplicate should be no. And alternate key you can optionally select it yes, but it is not required when you are making it as a primary index. So there is no necessary, just like in AX 2012, until you declare this as an alternate key, and then you can define as a primary index on the table level. So now we can go to the, after booking index is set, you can go to the table, and you can select the cluster index to be booking index, and primary index need to be booking index as well. So I will also turn it alternate key to yes. This will be useful when because there can be definitely there is a rec ID already, a primary key is already there, and you can create as many as alternate key you want. If you want to have a relationship with the foreign key tables, so that then it is useful, the alternate key. So that depends. I mean, there can be a one primary index, and then there can be multiple, indexes where you can put it as alternate key to in order to define or in order to make a relationship to the child tables. So what we need to do is next resort ID, which we need to also place in our table. Just drag and drop, and also remove the prefix from the resort ID, and then in the resort ID we need to make it also mandatory for a booking information to have a resort ID. So that need to be mandatory, so I will just select it as yes. So the resort ID is now mandatory, and there is one more property which is called ignore EDT relationship. I will select it as yes, and this is also a best practice in order to ignore the EDT relationship, and this also forces us to create relationship on a table. So then we need to create a foreign key relationship of a resort ID to the resort ID in resort table. So for that we need to just right click the relationship and make a foreign key relationship here. Just give it a name like PKR resort table, or you can also skip the PKR prefix in order to have a relationship. Normally the table name should be there in the relationship. I will just include the prefix, and so now the cardinality we need to make it like one and more. So that can be the case here because multiple resorts exist. Not multiple, but rather booking information can be multiple here. But in the related table cardinality, that need to be uh, on delete. We need to make it restricted so that it will not allow to remove the parent until the corresponding information in, for example, booking table here, child information is not also deleted. So the cardinality is one or more, and related table will be definitely PKR resort table here, and related table cardinality definitely need to be exactly 1 because resort must exist to create a booking against it, and the relationship type need to be association here, and then we just need to create a related a normal here, a normal relationship, and then in the relationship we need to select the field which is the resort ID, and then in the related field that is in the related table it is also resort ID. So in this way we have created the relationship. Now next what we need to do is go to the application explorer, and select the name EDT, and drag and drop the name EDT into our resort booking table here. Now also we need to create our one base enum in order to have a booking status. For that we need to just right click on the base enum. Instead of base enum, a project can be right click, and then you can go to the new item, and in the data type you can select a base enum and then give it a name like PKR resort booking status. This can be the name here. So once the base enum is created, then we can create a label for this, and you can just click the eclipse icon, and match exactly, and then find the label like status. So there must be some sys label available, which we need to select instead of creating our own label, because this is a normally uh, just pick a sys label. There are so many. I will just create this one. I will just select this and close and paste it here. And then also we need to create a help label, help text label for that. We can find another one, the service, the booking order rather. I think it will not exist, so I will just create the booking, the resort booking order status. Just copy this label and place it in the help property, and then we need to also go to the is extensible property, which need to be true. So this cannot be, however, used for comparison, which I have covered in I think first training session about base enums. So if it is not it is selected as false, so then only it can be used for comparison. So this should be true here, and then we need to add few elements. So to start with, I will just place at least 4 elements into this base enum, and then start by giving it a name, like first one can be none, the second one I will put like confirmed, and then it can be complete, and then it can be cancelled. And similarly same labels I can create. So except the first one that need to be empty, I need to either create the label or find any existing label. So I think finding is more appropriate. So just confirm. So there are sys label available. I will just paste it, and then for complete also just find and match exactly. It should be the find option, and then select a sys label just like this. And for cancelled also, instead of here, we can just go and paste this label. And so now we have placed all the labels. Only exception is the first element in base enum, so that it should appear as empty, as a none value. And now once we are done with this base enum, what we can do is just open the booking table and go to our base enum booking status and drag and drop on the field node, and then we can just remove the prefixes. this field should be read only, so we need to make it allow edit to be no in both the cases whenever a new record is inserted. So allow edit on create should also be no, and allow edit should also be no here. So this will make it read only, and this should be controlled by the business logic. That's why we are making it read only. So then what we can do is we need to create date EDTs. So that is for requested booking date and confirmed booking date, and those both EDTs should extend the trans date. So we will just start with this one. So just right click on the project and go to the add item and go to the EDT and go to the date. So in this way, just create it like PKR resort booking date requested. Okay, and then there can be another one. Go to add EDT and date and make it like PKR resort booking date confirmed. So these two EDTs are just created now, and we need to just open the edit. Already it is open, so just select the extend property here and extend it with transdate. I will just copy it and place also in the other one. So now these two EDTs will be extending the transaction date EDT. So now the both EDTs I will drag and drop on the fields node, and then I can remove the prefix here. So booking date requested and booking date confirmed will be the naming for these. And now what we need to do is set the properties of this table. So to start with, the label and title field 1 and title field 2 need to be selected. So the title field can be booking ID definitely, and title field 2 can be the name field here. And the label I will just create in the label file, and that can be for example the resort booking orders, and same I will just place with the capitals here, and just copy the label and place in the label property of the table. And then what about the cache lookup? So this table need to be similar to the sales table and sales line, or purchase table or purchase line. So you can get an example by looking into those table as well. So those table you can see the cache lookup is found here, and that is very appropriate also. And sales line also we need to check. So this is also found here. So in this way we need to also follow the same example, and also I need to, so you can also note that table group is worksheet line, and their sales table is worksheet header. So we need to also follow the same. And in the table property, you can go to the cache lookup. First select the found here, and for now the cluster index, primary index I already set as a booking index, and table group we need to go instead of miscellaneous, we need to make it worksheet header. And then also we need to select for audit purpose created by yes, and created date time yes. And similarly, in order to include whoever has modified the table and whoever has created the first time the record. So that need to be having the audit information. And for developer documentation also, we need to create a label. Just yeah, here it is, developer documentation. For that we need to just give it a name like PKR resort booking table contains uh, resort booking order records, and this we need to also put a help text. We can put like PKR resort booking table developer documentation DD, and we'll just copy this and place into the developer documentation. And that's it for this table. And then we need to also create field group, and for field group we need to have at least two. One need to be overview, and the other need to be details. This will be later on used in the forms which we'll see, because there are two views in on the form, one for overview, one for details. And what we can do is we can select for example booking ID, resort ID, name, and the booking status. These four fields need to be added to the overview as well as to the details, because whenever the view is switched on the form level, so all these fields should be visible. And then we can also create one more field group that can be uh, booking order dates, and in this one we'll just place our booking dates which are for requested and confirmed. So we have placed it now here. And for the labels also we need to just copy paste this one in the label and go to the open through Eclipse icon the label editor, and it will find the overview labels. We'll just select a sys label. So this one is sys label, and similarly go to the details and copy paste the name in the label and go to the label editor, and then find the sys label here. So this one is appropriate, just paste the sys label. And then what about for the booking order dates? So for this we need to just create a extra label. So this can be booking resort booking order dates, and same we need to just copy and just copy the label, place in the label here. And now we need to just implement the behavior of the table. Uh, for the behavior of the table we can use our previously created methods as well. So for that we for example the find and exist method, you can go to the resort table and go there and just open the class behind it. So we can just copy these method and modify as per our needs. And we will also need to have validate write method as well. So we'll just I think we can copy all the methods, save the booking table, and go and create the new method. So in the method you can just paste it here, and now we'll just start by refining or changing the methods here. So the parameter now which is passed is definitely resort booking ID, which we just need to replace here, just like this one. And resort ID exist will definitely need. Check exist can be also useful, and in the find we can put like booking ID, and for the init value we'll just remove I think this one for now. Later on we'll see if it is needed. For now check exist, text not exist. We can also remove this check exist. Only we are good with the exist and find method. And also the return type should be resort booking table. It can be resort booking table, and now we need to also name our variables. So this one can be resort booking ID, and the table name should be resort booking table. And also here, and then we need to just place this one here, just save it. So also here we need to place the resort booking table, and the same need to be returned here, and it should be used in the queries. For booking ID, I can go to the resort booking table. It is basically booking ID, so that can be put it here, booking ID, and resort booking ID will be compared, and here also it will be resort booking ID, and similarly here also resort booking ID. And now we can just build to make sure that there are no errors. So we our build is now successful. So what we will do next is to check our dates, basically by implementing the validateField method by right clicking and override method. Go to the validateField, and that will now be overridden, and that we can also take an example by going to the previous table where we have implemented this one. So that can also be copy pasted, because this is the best implementation. Like we have also changed the variable names, and so we'll just copy it and paste the body and change as per our requirements. So what we need to do is here the change the basically table name, which is a resort booking table, and then the date here need to be basically there are two dates. One is requested date, and then there is a confirmed date. So we need to just uh, use both of these dates. Just check the exact name is booking date requested and booking date confirmed. So booking date requested. So this then can be like place it here, and booking date need to be this cannot be past date, means it should be always greater than today's date. It can be of today's date, but it cannot be a past date. So what we can do is make an equal sign as well, and the label we will just replace, no problem for that. And now we can implement another case by copy pasting the same case, and now booking date confirmed need to be here, and then also we need to check it, booking date confirmed should be also today, or the greater than I mean today's, it means future date. So in this way the validate field is implemented. The only thing left is to put a appropriate label, which I will place it here and create a label ID against it. So the resort booking date requested can not be a past date. Similarly, place it here like booking date confirmed cannot be a past date, and then just create the label against this. Go to the label file, which is already open, and also we can just copy paste this one, validate booking date requested, and similarly copy this string and paste it here, booking date confirmed. Okay, and we can just place copy paste this label ID, same way the other for confirmed. So this way we have implemented the validate field. In order to just give you a hint about this method is basically this will yeah, basically it should be only used once. So it is best to if you are using it inside the case statement, so remove it. If it is used in both the cases, so it is better to place this at the top level of this method, correct the indentation, and now the only thing is, if it comes in the field case of this field, uh, then it is used, otherwise it will not be used. Definitely it is used for comparison. So instead of putting the same statement in both of the cases, I have removed it and put at the common place, which is just the start of the method itself. And that's it, guys. Just save it. And now we also need to implement a validateWrite method in order to check, because now we'll, for the booking orders, we will only be allowing with the status which is like none and confirmed. So only in that case the we'll allow to edit it. So in order to implement that, it is to override the validate write method. Validate write method is triggered whenever the full record is going to be inserted. Instead of a field value is set, just like validate field, whenever a field value is set, then this is triggered and it will check the field ID which is being modified, and it will validate only that field at the time when it is being entered. And validate write will fire when the whole record will be inserted. So at that time the validate write will be fired. And we'll also change the ret with is valid, which is better version, better naming convention. And then we need to also implement one of the method in order to check it whether it is can be edited or not edited. For that reason, we just need to declare a new method which return type will have the boolean, and it can be access modifier is public, and then canEdit can be a good name for that method. And then in that method we need to just check by using the switch statement this dot booking status can be checked, and create the body of switch by the case keyword. And what was our base enum? It was pkr resort booking status, and just place a none and colon, and just copy the same. And for this one we need to just put confirmed. Only these two status will be allowed to be edited. I will just put a break statement, and before that in between that I will can use here so I can use a is valid boolean variable. The default value will be definitely 0 or a false value here, is valid. So it will be only returning true when it comes under these cases, and the cases are true, means it will have none or confirmed status. So is valid will be assigned a true value, and then at the end I will just return is valid variable. So this will return the either true or false. False in case it will not come under this, and true in case it is none and confirmed. So it will return is valid. So this will be the method implementation. And for the canEdit, and then we can also implement check method, and the check method will internally use this canEdit method. For that check method also I can define like check canEdit, and then if not this canEdit, means if it is not allowed to be edited, then we can just return a check failed, or again it is better to implement in the same way, is valid check failed, and inside check failed we need to put an appropriate label, and then that need to be returned here. So but in this case what will happen, that we need to just assign a true value. So it is better to make it more efficient than readable. What we can do is, instead of this, we will just use the return statement multiple times. One will be return check failed, and the other one can be return true. If it is not failed, so it means when it is allowed to be edited, so it will return true. It will not come under this statement, but if it is not allowed, so the warning message will also be popped up. So what we can do is just create a label here. The resort booking order cannot be changed, and then just create a label against this. Resort booking cannot change. Okay, and then just copy this label ID and paste it here. So in this way we have implemented check canEdit, and internally it is calling the canEdit method, which will be returning is valid, as we discussed already, whether it is editable or not editable, when the editable only in none and confirmed status. So this is how we have implemented. Now we'll use this check canEdit inside the validateWrite method. So what we can do is just after is valid is checked, so we can assign to the is valid whether the earlier value is true. If it is false, it will not come here. So that will put an logical AND operator, and then we can use this check canEdit. So in this way, so this will return true if it is editable, and then is valid will be true, and the record will be inserted or updated overall. So this is how we have implemented the validate here. And next what we can do is to write an initialize method as well, and for that we need to just create another method which will be public void. Void means there is no return type, so return type will be void, and we can just start with init from resort table, and then declare just resort table and resort table. So then what we can do is just initialize the field name from the resort table. So we can just initialize in this manner, and then what we can do is, we have not implemented yeah, we have already implemented this validate field already, and so this basically the init from resort table where it will be triggered. So that we need to do by implementing by overriding one more method, which is called uh, modified field method. So in the modified field method, what we can do is, after the super call, you can just check the switch statement and the field ID. Then in the switch statement, we need to just use case and field num for which table, that is PKR resort booking table, and the field should be basically resort ID. When the resort ID is entered, so the name of resort should also be initialized. So that we can do by this dot init from resort table. But we need to also pass in the resort table itself. So for that we can use the find method, and we already have the definitely the resort ID value so far, because now the modified field is triggered for example on the resort ID when the resort ID field is entered. So it means this field is having a value. So that value we can use here. How we can use, just make it this and resort ID. So this will have the resort ID field value. So can we retrieve the from this value the resort table record? Yes, definitely. For that we have already created the find method, and what we can do is use this find method and pass the resort ID, and it will return the resort table buffer, and from that buffer which we are passing here, the name will be initialized. So in this way this init is implemented, and then we can use the break statement in order to close the case statement by breaking it, and this way we have completed this one. So we'll just now modify a little bit basically, and the design I want to change it is like resort ID and name should go to the lines table instead of the header table. And also there is one more important thing is like customer account, because a resort can be booked against a customer or a client which will be requesting it. So that need to be also involved here, just like a sales table. We need to create a relationship as well as the customer account EDT need to be drag and drop here in order to create basically the customer account here. So I will just go to the first account EDT, and this EDT I will just place here, so it will give me option of customer account, which is very important, and then the relationship also need to be built by with the customer first table. So I will just create a foreign key relationship and give it a name like cust table, and similarly the cust table need to be placed in related table. Okay, and then related table cardinality need to be exactly 1, and cardinality here need to be can be 1 or more. This is a mandatory and not an optional, so client information is must. So basically it can be I think exactly 1, and for the related table cardinality So basically multiple orders can contain, one or more in the booking table, but to the related table it will be exactly one customer account. And then on delete also it need to be restricted. So what else we need to do is EDT relationship, no is already selected. Relationship type need to be association, and this is how we have just created a relationship, and then just create a new and a normal relation, and select a field here which will be first account field, and related field need to be account number. So in this way we have created the relationship of a customer account to the cust table. And now we also need to create a line table. Just I will start by creating adding a new item directly by going to the table, and the name can be given here like resort booking line, resort booking line, because the previous was resort booking table, so this will be resort booking line. Similar way like sales table and sales line, purchase table and purchase line. So what we need to do is just there are like booking ID, customer account will be in the header table, and resort ID and name, these will be shifted to the line table instead of the parent table. Just copy it and go to the fields and paste it. So the resort ID will be now here, but we also need to create a relationship same way we have created in the parent table basically, which will be removing now because now we have changed the design. So the resort ID will be means one client can book multiple resorts, so those resort ID will be kept in the line information. So what we can do is just create a same way resort table here, and we can also copy it, but so it will just copy the relationship with all its properties, so it's more flexible. So resort ID and name is copied here. What else we need to create here is go to the there was one more that is booking ID EDT need to be dropped here. Why? Because the booking line will have the relationship with its header table on the basis of booking ID. So for that reason we need to also place booking ID in the line table as well. So also it can be a rec ID based relationship like uh, perch line and perch table that is on the basis of rec ID, but it depends upon how you proceed. The designs can be changed. And then there is one EDT called line num that need to be drag and drop here. This is same way like perch line num, and that can be the second field in the sequencing. And then resort ID and name is already there, and then we need to also have the booking status in the line level as well. So for that we need to just drag and drop the booking status here on the line level as well, because for the different resort this can be changed status. So in this way we have just created our line table. So resort ID is already with the relationship, and we need to just create a relationship with the header table. For that we need to first also we need to set certain properties on the field level. So what we can do is, since this booking ID and the line number fields need to be controlled through code, so we need to make it read only and also the mandatory. So allow edit need to be no and mandatory need to be yes, and in the same way line number allow edit no and mandatory need to be yes here. So in this way this field property is selected. And line number, I need to just tell you that it is in order to make the lines in a sorted order, and it is not visible, but it is at the back end. So either it can be made invisible, or it can be in a field group which is made invisible. Then for the line number, the visible property we need to turn it to no, and now we need to create an index, and that index will be like booking line IDX, and we need to put booking ID and the line number fields into this index, and also allow duplicates is already no, the combination will not allow the duplicate here. And then also we need to make this index as a cluster index, so that it will naturally sort the lines on the form. So just go to the cluster index and select the booking line index here. Next what we need to do is we need to just create our relationship with the header table, and the name of header table is PKR resort booking table. And what will be the basically properties here? The related table property need to be set, which will be PKR resort booking table, and cardinality need to be set here 0 or more, because a line can be defined and cannot be defined, and it can be multiple lines, so 0 and more. And for related table cardinality, it can be 0 or 1. So rather it should be related exactly 1, because a header must exist, so that is a mandatory. So it will be exactly 1, and relationship type will be association. And then on delete, it can be, instead of restricted, it can be cascade. So if the parent is deleted, so the child records will also be deleted. So for that we have selected this. So next what we need to do is just create a field group with the overview. So and then just copy this to the label also, and find the label and just replace or paste the label. That can be a sys label. I will just paste this label in overview, and what we can do is we can just, we don't need the line number because it is not visible, and we'll be using other fields and drag and drop into the overview field group. And now what we need to do is update more properties of the line table, which we have not done so far. So to start with, just go to the title field ID here, and that can be a resort ID. Resort ID will be the title field, and there will be the name of the resort, which will be title field 2. And then we need to also give it a name. So just go to the label file. Keep always label file open because it takes some time to open it. So just give it a name like resort booking order lines, and just copy this. Resort booking order lines. Resort booking order lines, just copy this label, place in the label of the table, and then we need to also select cache lookup, which will be found in this case in order to make it efficient, avoid the round trip to the DB whenever the records are selected. So it will be found, and cluster index we have already set to be booking line index, and then primary index is surrogate key, and table group will be worksheet line, and for the header we have already selected worksheet table, and then also created by and created date time need to be for audit purpose. Whenever a record is inserted, need to know who has inserted it, and same way modified if it is modified, so the audit trail will be there. And then we need to also set the developer documentation. So the developer, in the developer documentation, we definitely again need to create a label that will be the PKR resort booking line contains resort booking order line records. I can just paste, copy and paste the table name and DD developer documentation. Just copy this, go to the label and go to the table property and put it there. And now we need to introduce also the methods, and definitely once we build it, so it will give us error because on the header level we have defined before the resort ID and name, which we will just need to remove. I will just delete it, and so it will automatically delete the relationship also. And once it is done, then I need to go to exist and find method, because I need to implement the same method in line level table. Just go to the view code and copy paste these two methods. Just go to the override. Basically find, we need to create a new method. Find is not overridden, is not already implemented. So what we need to use here is two key values basically. One is booking ID, the other one will be the line number. So we just need to modify the parameters. So just use the EDT line num and create an extra parameter here, and same way just copy this to the find in this way, and then we need to also change our query. So resort booking table, instead of resort booking table, we need to make it resort booking line, and same way everywhere we need to replace. And also resort booking line variable, we need to replace this one. And now in the query we need to just place an AND operator. Just place AND operator and make it like resort booking line dot, just copy it, and here the field name will be line number, and that will be equals to the parameter of line number. So same way we need to also place the same condition at the bottom here as well. The just replace the variable here, resort booking line. So line number and resort booking ID number will return resort booking line, and the return type also need to be changed. Just I will build it so that if there are any errors, so those will come up. Now there are almost 6 errors which we need to correct those errors because of the previous table. We have removed we have moved few of the fields to the line level. The same now are not available in the methods, so we can just observe it, what is the problem. Yeah, it is actually this was not intended resort ID, that need to be booking ID instead of a resort ID. This can be a booking ID. Okay, and so there are init from resort table which need to be moved to the line level, and modified field, and this also need to be I will move it and cut it and paste in the line level, because now these fields are available in the line level table. So here the table name need to be changed. Okay, and also init from resort table. Again I need to build it. So there are a few more errors, like we have renamed this resort type cost wise, so we'll just remove and make it type cost wise, and after saving it again, it is giving me error on the booking table. PKR resort booking table constraint relation PKR resort booking has no constraint defined. So this is not needed here. Yeah, actually we have not defined still the we have defined here, but we have not defined any constraints. So just go to the related normal relationship and just select here the booking ID basically, and then related field will be also the booking ID. So we have defined now on the line level. So next is, so it is saying the field does not exist for title field 2. Basically, yes, on the booking table earlier on the name was there, so now it is not there. So we can just place the name from the cust name EDT. So that will be customer name. We can use this cust name here, and then we can change it to the cust name. Again, make a build, and meanwhile it is being built. I need to do one more. It is already built, so what I need to do, modified field and init from resort table. I need to just copy it to the booking table and to the booking table. Because the customer name we also need to default it whenever customer ID or customer account is selected. For that reason we need to just little bit modify it. So init from cust table, and that will be here like cust table. Change it and place it here, and then resort booking table, and then here the customer cust account. Cust account was the field, and cust name where we need to place it. So init from this need to be init from cust table, and that also need to be cust table dot find, and using basically the this dot cust account. So resort ID I will remove and make it cust account, this dot cust account, and it will go to cust table and find it. And this will init from cust table, and name will be copied to the cust name field, and let me turn off the synchronization because it's taking too much time. Once it is synchronized already, so that is it. So basically it does not contain, actually there is a display method in the cust table. So let me show you cust table, and basically display methods are also query, and but they can be used on the form level. So actually the display method name is name. So this is just like dot name, and with the brackets you can use it. It will return the party name, because this is a party, vendor is also party, and employee is also party. So the name is kept there, and this will return the name of customer from the dir party table or dir person. So once it is returned, it will be assigned to the cust name. And on the modified field, the cust account, whenever it is filled in the booking table, so the cust account field which is already filled will pass to the find method, which will return the buffer, and that buffer is then passed to the init from cust table here. And then it can use the name using a display method to assign it to the cust name on the header level of booking table. So that's it, guys, and there were lots of things, so definitely this video has to be a longer one. And I hope that now mostly things are completed. Apart from, there will be might be small modification if needed when we will be working on user interface, because definitely we can miss a few details sometime, and that is just like a human, and those then can be covered definitely during the user interface uh, development phase. And I hope you must have enjoyed it, and please subscribe to the channel.